Taungdao, Burma, May 13th, 1945. 120 hours. Rifleman Lachhiman Gurung crouches in a trench, watching 200 Japanese soldiers emerge from the jungle darkness 50 yards away. He is 27 years old. He stands 4 feet 11 inches tall. He weighs 110 pounds. And he's about to become a legend. Gurung's trench is the forwardmost position of his entire battalion, 100 yards ahead of the main British line. 3 men occupy this trench: Gurung, Private Gyan Bahadur Rai, Lance Corporal Ranjit Rai. Behind them, 400 British and Gurkha soldiers. In front of them, 200 Japanese infantrymen preparing to attack. The Japanese have surrounded 2 companies of the 4th Battalion, 8th Gurkha Rifles. This is their last major offensive in Burma. If they break through Gurung's position, they'll roll up the entire British line. 400 men will die. The Japanese creep forward, 40 yards, 30 yards, 20 yards. Then they charge, screaming, bayonets fixed, grenades flying. The first grenade lands in Gurung's trench, black, cylindrical, fuse burning. Gurung grabs it, throws it back. The explosion kills 3 Japanese soldiers. Second grenade. Gurung grabs it, throws it back. 2 more Japanese die. Third grenade. Gurung reaches for it. It explodes in his right hand. The blast tears off his fingers, shatters his arm, rips through his face, chest, and legs. 107 pieces of shrapnel embed in his body. His right eye is destroyed. Blood pours from dozens of wounds. Both of Gurung's companions are hit by the same explosion. Gyan Bahadur, unconscious, severe head wound. Ranjit, leg shattered, unable to move. Gurung is alone, 1 eye, 1 arm, bleeding from 107 wounds, facing 200 Japanese soldiers. The pain is beyond description. But Gurung doesn't retreat. He doesn't surrender. He doesn't even fall down. Instead, he picks up his Lee Enfield rifle with his left hand. He jams his kukri knife into the dirt in front of his trench. And he screams at the Japanese in Nepali, "Jai Mahakali, Ayo Gorkali, glory to the goddess Kali, here come the Gurkhas." Then he adds in broken English, "Come and fight a Gurkha." The Japanese charge. Gurung shoots the first man at 15 yards. The Lee Enfield is a bolt-action rifle, designed for right-handed operation. You pull the bolt back with your right hand, eject the spent cartridge, push the bolt forward, chamber a new round, close the bolt, fire. Gurung's right hand is gone, so he improvises. He braces the rifle against his body, works the bolt with his left hand, aims one-handed, fires. Second Japanese soldier, dead. Third, dead. Fourth, dead. The Japanese realize this 4:11. Gurkha with 1 arm and 1 eye isn't going to stop fighting, so they attack in waves. 10 men charge. Gurung shoots 4. The rest retreat. 15 men charge. Gurung shoots 5. They retreat. 20 men charge. Gurung shoots 6. They retreat. For 4 hours, Lachhiman Gurung fights alone, bleeding, half-blind, one-armed, loading and firing his rifle with one hand, screaming insults at the Japanese between shots. "Come fight a Gurkha. You cannot cross this line. I will kill you all." The Japanese keep attacking, and Gurung keeps killing them. At 05:20, the Japanese withdraw. Dawn breaks over the Burmese jungle. British reinforcements reach Gurung's trench. They expect to find 3 dead Gurkhas. Instead, they find Lachhiman Gurung, alive, still conscious, still holding his rifle, surrounded by 31 dead Japanese soldiers, all killed by Gurung, with 1 arm, in the darkness, over 4 hours of continuous combat. The medics stare in disbelief. "How are you alive?" Gurung looks at them with his one good eye. "I felt I was going to die anyway," he says calmly, "so I might as well die standing on my feet." Burma, 1945. The Forgotten War. While Americans celebrated victory in Europe, while Marines raised the flag on Iwo Jima, while B-29s firebombed Tokyo, the British 14th Army was fighting and dying in the jungles of Burma, and nobody was paying attention. The Burma campaign lasted 4 years, 1942-1945. It was the longest ground campaign against Japan in World War II. It was fought in some of the worst terrain on the planet: dense jungle, 100-degree heat, monsoon rains, malaria, dysentery, cholera. For every soldier killed in combat, 3 died from disease. The Japanese occupied Burma in May 1942, cutting off the Burma Road, the only supply route to China. The British tried to retake Burma in 1943. Failed. Tried again in 1944. Failed. By 1945, both sides were exhausted. The British had been fighting in Burma for 3 years straight. The Japanese had lost 200,000 men, but neither side would surrender. General Sir William Slim, commander of the British 14th Army, called it a war of survival. We fight because we must. We fight because if we lose, we die. The Japanese defenders in Burma followed Bushido Code: death before surrender, fight to the last man, never retreat. They meant it. Japanese soldiers fought from caves, from bunkers, from tunnels. They launched banzai charges at British positions. They tied themselves to trees and fired until they ran out of ammunition. Then they detonated grenades, killing themselves and anyone nearby. This was the enemy Lachhiman Gurung faced, fanatics who would rather die than retreat. And on May 13, 1945, 200 of them were trying to kill him. But they didn't understand who they were fighting. They didn't understand the Gurkhas. Origin story: the boy who became a warrior, 6/12, Dahakani, Nepal, December 30th, 1917. Lachhiman Gurung was born in a small mountain village 200 miles from Kathmandu. His family was poor, desperately poor. They lived in a stone hut with a dirt floor. They grew rice and corn on a tiny plot of land. They owned one goat. Most years they barely had enough food. Some years they didn't. By age 10, Gurung stood 3 feet tall and weighed maybe 45 pounds. Malnutrition had stunted his growth. He would never grow taller than 4 feet 11 inches. But what Gurung lacked in size, he made up for in determination. At age 8, he was already working in the fields. At age 12, he was carrying loads up mountain trails for money. At age 15, he decided he wanted to join the army. Not because he loved fighting, not because he wanted glory, because soldiers got paid, and Gurung's family needed money. In 1936, at age 18, Gurung walked 4 days to the nearest British Army recruiting station. The recruiter looked at this tiny boy who claimed to be 18. "How tall are you?" 4 feet 11 inches. "The minimum height is 5 feet. I'm strong. You're too short. I can carry more than men taller than me. Rules are rules. You're rejected." Gurung walked 4 days home. He tried again in 1937. Rejected. Too short. 1938. Rejected. Too short. 1939. Rejected. Too short. On September 1st, 1939, Germany invaded Poland. Britain declared war. Suddenly, the British Army needed every man they could get, including short ones. In December 1940, Lachhiman Gurung walked to the recruiting station for the 5th time. Same recruiter. "You again?" "Yes. You're still too short. The army needs soldiers. I am a soldier." The recruiter stared at this 4'11" man who had been rejected 4 times and kept coming back. "Why do you want to join so badly?" "Because my family needs money, and because I am Gurkha. We do not quit." The recruiter looked at Gurung's file. 5 rejections. 5 times he came back. Never gave up. "Fine," the recruiter said. "You're in." Gurung was assigned to the 4th Battalion, 8th Gurkha Rifles, one of the most elite units in the British Indian Army. The Gurkhas had been fighting for the British since 1815. They had a reputation: fearless, deadly, loyal. Their motto: better to die than be a coward. Their weapon: the kukri, a curved knife, 15 inches long, sharp enough to cut through bone. Every Gurkha carried one. Gurung's training began in January 1941. It was brutal. 50-mile marches with full pack, hand-to-hand combat, bayonet drills, live fire exercises. The instructors pushed every recruit to the breaking point. Some quit, some broke. Gurung never faltered. He was the smallest man in his company, but he could march farther, fight longer, and endure more punishment than recruits twice his size. His instructors noticed. "That little one," a sergeant said, "he's going to be trouble for the Japanese." Gurung completed training in June 1941. He deployed to Burma in March 1942. For the next 3 years, he fought in some of the bloodiest battles of the Burma campaign. the retreat from Rangoon, the Arakan offensive, the battles at Kohima and Imphal. By May 1945, Gurung was 27 years old. He had survived 3 years of jungle warfare. He had malaria twice. He had dysentery 3 times. He had been wounded once by shrapnel from a Japanese mortar. He had killed 7 Japanese soldiers in close combat. And he was about to face his greatest test. May 9th, 1945. The 4th Battalion, 8th Gurkha Rifles crosses the Irrawaddy River. Their mission: block the retreat of Japanese forces withdrawing toward Thailand. Intelligence estimates: 500-800 Japanese soldiers, veterans from the China campaign, experienced, disciplined, desperate. By May 11th, 2 companies of the 4th Gurkhas reach the village of Taungdao. They dig defensive positions along a ridge overlooking the valley. The Japanese are supposed to retreat through this valley. The Gurkhas will ambush them. Simple plan. But something goes wrong. On May 12th, Japanese scouts discover the Gurkha positions. Instead of retreating, the Japanese attack. At 1800 hours, 200 Japanese infantry emerge from the jungle. They surround the 2 Gurkha companies. The British are now cut off. No reinforcements available. Radio contact, intermittent. Artillery support, 0. They're on their own. The Gurkha commanding officer, Major James Robertson, realizes the situation is critical. If the Japanese break through, his entire force will be destroyed. He orders his men to hold their positions at all costs. The Gurkhas dig in. They prepare for a night attack. Lachhiman Gurung is assigned to the forward trench with 2 other riflemen. Their job: act as an early warning system. If the Japanese attack, Gurung's section will detect them first and alert the main line. Expected survival rate: low. At 2200 hours on May 12th, Gurung settles into his trench. He checks his equipment: Lee Enfield rifle, 50 rounds, kukri knife, 4 grenades, 2 canteens. He looks at his 2 companions: Gyan Bahadur Rai, 23 years old, veteran of 2 years, Ranjit Rai, 25 years old, veteran of 3 years. Both men are taller than Gurung. Both have more combat experience. But Gurung is the best shot in the entire section, so he's positioned in the center of the trench, where he'll have the best field of fire. At 2300, they hear movement in the jungle. Footsteps, branches breaking, Japanese voices whispering. The attack is coming. Gurung grips his rifle tighter. His heart is pounding, but his hands are steady. At midnight, the Japanese open fire. Machine guns, mortars, rifle fire from multiple directions. The Gurkha positions light up with muzzle flashes. Gurung and his companions keep their heads down. The preparatory bombardment lasts 20 minutes. Then silence. In that silence, Gurung hears what he's been dreading. Footsteps. Many footsteps. Getting closer. At Aero 120, the Japanese infantry attacks. 200 men charging through the darkness. Gurung can see them now. Dark shapes moving through the trees. 20 yards away. 15 yards. 10 yards. Gurung opens fire. His first shot hits a Japanese soldier in the chest. The man drops. Gurung works the bolt. Fires again. Another hit. Beside him, Gyan Bahadur and Ranjit are firing as fast as they can, but there are too many Japanese. They keep coming. At 5 yards, the Japanese start throwing grenades. The first one lands on the edge of Gurung's trench. Gurung sees it. Black cylinder. Fuse burning. He has maybe 2 seconds. He grabs it with his right hand, throws it back toward the Japanese. Boom! The explosion kills 3 Japanese soldiers who were charging the trench. Second grenade. Same thing. Gurung grabs it, throws it. Boom! 2 more Japanese die. The Japanese are now 3 yards from the trench. Third grenade lands. This one rolls closer to Gurung. He reaches for it, and it explodes in his right hand. The Type 97 hand grenade carries 65 grams of TNT. When it detonates, it fragments into approximately 100 pieces of shrapnel traveling at 3,000 feet per second. The blast radius is 10 meters. Lachhiman Gurung is holding the grenade when it explodes. 0 distance. Maximum damage. The explosion tears off 4 fingers on his right hand. His thumb hangs by a thread of skin. His right arm is shattered from wrist to elbow. Bone fragments protrude through torn muscle. 107 pieces of shrapnel penetrate his body. 43 in his face, 27 in his chest, 19 in his right arm, 11 in his left arm, 7 in his right leg. One piece lodges behind his right eye, destroying it. Blood pours from dozens of wounds. The pain is indescribable. Most men would go into shock. Most men would collapse. Lachhiman Gurung does not collapse. He staggers backward, falls against the trench wall, looks at his destroyed right hand. Beside him, Gyan Bahadur is unconscious. The same grenade that destroyed Gurung's hand sent shrapnel into Gyan Bahadur's skull. He's alive but unresponsive. Ranjit is conscious but screaming. Shrapnel has shattered his left leg. He can't stand. He can't fight. Gurung realizes he's alone. 200 Japanese soldiers, 1 411. Gurkha, 1 eye, 1 arm, no backup. The Japanese think the trench is finished. They charge forward to overrun it. That's when Gurung picks up his rifle. His right hand is useless, so he grips the Lee Enfield with his left hand, braces the stock against his body, and fires one-handed into the charging Japanese. The first shot hits a Japanese soldier at 10 feet. The man drops. Gurung needs to reload, but the Lee Enfield is designed for right-handed operation. The bolt is on the right side. You're supposed to pull it back with your right hand while steadying the rifle with your left. Gurung doesn't have a right hand, so he wedges the rifle between his knees, points the barrel at the Japanese, reaches over the top of the rifle with his left hand, grabs the bolt, pulls it back. The spent cartridge ejects. He pushes the bolt forward. A new round chambers. He closes the bolt, grips the rifle with his left hand again, aims, fires. Second Japanese soldier, dead. The process takes 4 seconds. A trained soldier with 2 hands can reload in 2 seconds. Gurung is doing it in 4 seconds with 1 hand, in the dark, while bleeding from 107 wounds. Third shot, kill. Fourth shot, kill. The Japanese realize this Gurkha isn't going to stop, so they pull back 20 yards and regroup. Gurung uses the brake to check his wounds. His right hand is gone. He can't save it. So he tears a strip from his uniform and ties a tourniquet around his forearm. The bleeding slows but doesn't stop. His face is a mess. He can't see out of his right eye. Blood is running into his left eye, blurring his vision. He wipes it away with his sleeve. His chest wound is deep, but not immediately fatal. He can still breathe. He can still fight. Gurung looks at his kukri knife. It's still tucked in his belt. He pulls it out with his left hand and jams it into the dirt in front of the trench. The blade stands upright. A challenge. A line in the sand. Then Gurung screams at the Japanese in Nepali, Jai Mahakali, Ayo Gorkali, glory to Goddess Kali, the Gurkhas are here. He screams in English, come fight a Gurkha. You cannot cross this line. I will kill you all. The Japanese don't understand the words, but they understand the meaning. This little man with 1 arm is daring them to attack, so they attack. Wave 1, 10 men. Gurung kills 4 before they reach the trench. The survivors retreat. Wave 2, 15 men. Gurung kills 5. They retreat. Wave 3, 20 men. Gurung kills 6. They retreat. For 4 hours the pattern repeats. Japanese charge. Gurung shoots. Japanese retreat. Regroup. Charge again. Gurung shoots again. He's fighting on pure adrenaline and rage. The pain is constant, overwhelming. But Gurung doesn't stop. He can't stop. Because if he stops, the Japanese will overrun his position. If they overrun his position, they'll attack the main British line from behind. 400 Gurkhas will die. Gurung won't let that happen. So he keeps fighting, one-handed, half-blind, bleeding, loading, firing, screaming insults at the Japanese. At 0300, Gurung runs out of ammunition. He has fired all 50 rounds. He searches the trench for more. Gyan Bahadur's rifle, 8 rounds left. Ranjit's rifle, 12 rounds left. Gurung takes both rifles. Now he has 20 rounds. Enough to keep fighting. The Japanese attack again. Gurung shoots 7 more. At 0430, he's down to 5 rounds. The Japanese sense weakness. They mass for one final assault. 30 men charge simultaneously. Gurung shoots the first man, the second, the third, the fourth. 1 round left. Gurung aims at the 5th man. The Japanese soldier is 5 feet away. Bayonet raised. Gurung pulls the trigger. Click. Misfire. The cartridge is dud. The Japanese soldier lunges. Gurung drops the rifle. grabs his kukri with his left hand, and slashes. The blade cuts through the Japanese soldier's rifle, through his hands, through his throat. The man drops. Gurung stands over the body, kukri raised, screaming. The remaining Japanese soldiers stop. They've been fighting this one-armed Gurkha for 4 hours. They've lost at least 30 men. And he's still standing, still fighting, still refusing to die. They've had enough. At 05:20, the Japanese withdraw. May 13th, 1945. 0600 hours. Dawn breaks over Taungdao. British reinforcements finally reach the forward trench. They expect to find 3 dead Gurkhas. Instead, they find Lachhiman Gurung, standing, kukri in hand, covered in blood, surrounded by bodies. A British lieutenant stares in disbelief. How many were there? Gurung looks at him with one eye. Many. How many did you kill? I don't know. I stopped counting. The medics count the bodies in front of Gurung's trench. 31 dead Japanese soldiers, all within 20 yards of the position, all killed by 1411, Gurkha, with one arm, in 4 hours, in the darkness. The medics examine Gurung's wounds. Right hand, destroyed. Right eye, destroyed. 107 pieces of shrapnel embedded. Blood loss, severe. Estimated survival probability, 30%. They load Gurung onto a stretcher. He's still conscious. My companions? Gurung asks. Gyan Bahadur has a severe head wound. He'll survive. Ranjit has a shattered leg. He'll survive. Because of you. They carry Gurung 2 miles to the battalion aid station. The doctor examines him and shakes his head. This man should be dead. But he's not, a medic says. No, the doctor agrees. He's definitely not. They evacuate Gurung to a field hospital in Chittagong. Surgeons operate for 6 hours. They amputate his right hand at the wrist. They remove 31 pieces of shrapnel they can reach. 76 pieces remain embedded too deep to extract. They clean and suture dozens of wounds. They remove his destroyed right eye. When the surgery ends, the chief surgeon tells his team, "This soldier fought for 4 hours after injuries that would have killed most men instantly. He killed 31 enemy soldiers with one hand. If he survives, he deserves the Victoria Cross." Gurung survives. By May 15th, his condition stabilizes. By May 20th, he's awake and alert. By June 1st, he's walking. The doctors are stunned. "How do you feel?" they ask. "Ready to return to my unit," Gurung says. "You can't return. You've lost your hand. You've lost your eye. You're being medically discharged." Gurung looks at them. "I can still fight." "Not with one hand. I fought with one hand at Taungdao. I can do it again." The doctors realize this man will never quit. "We'll see what the army says," they tell him. November 1945. The war is over. Japan surrendered in August. Burma is liberated. The 4th Battalion, 8th Gurkha Rifles returns to India. On December 19, 1945, at the historic Red Fort in Delhi, Field Marshal Archibald Wavell, Viceroy and Governor-General of India, holds a medal ceremony. 13 Gurkhas are receiving the Victoria Cross, the highest military honor in the British Empire, awarded for conspicuous gallantry in the face of the enemy. Lachhiman Gurung is one of them. His citation reads, "On 12/13 May 1945 at Taungdao, Burma, Rifleman Lachhiman Gurung was manning the most forward post of his platoon, which bore the brunt of an attack by at least 200 of the Japanese enemy. Twice he hurled back grenades which had fallen on his trench, but the third exploded in his right hand, blowing off his fingers, shattering his arm and severely wounding him in the face, body, and right leg. His 2 comrades were also badly wounded, but the rifleman, now alone and disregarding his wounds, loaded and fired his rifle with his left hand for 4 hours, calmly waiting for each attack which he met with fire at point-blank range. Of the 87 enemy dead counted in the immediate vicinity of the company locality, 31 lay in front of this rifleman's section, the key to the whole position. Had the enemy succeeded in overrunning and occupying Rifleman Lachhiman Gurung's trench, the whole of the reverse side and rear of the platoon position would have been completely dominated and turned. This rifleman showed outstanding bravery and a complete disregard for his own safety. His courageous example and determination had a most inspiring effect upon all ranks, and he displayed heroism, self-sacrifice, and devotion to duty of the very highest order. Gurung stands at attention in his dress uniform. The right sleeve is pinned up where his hand used to be. He wears a black eye patch over his right eye. Field Marshal Wavell pins the Victoria Cross to Gurung's chest. "You are a credit to the Gurkhas," Wavell says, "and to the British Army." Gurung salutes with his left hand. "Thank you, sir." After the ceremony, reporters ask Gurung about the battle. "Were you afraid?" "Yes, I thought I would die." "Why didn't you retreat?" "Because I am Gurkha. We do not retreat." "How did you fight with one hand?" "I had to fight. I felt I was going to die anyway, so I might as well die standing on my feet." "What were you thinking during those 4 hours?" Gurung pauses. "I was thinking about the men behind me. If I failed, they would die. So I could not fail." Despite his injuries, Gurung requests to remain in the British Indian Army. The army agrees. He serves until 1947, when India gains independence. He transfers to the Indian Army and serves until his retirement as a Havildar, sergeant, in 1947. After the war, Lachhiman Gurung returned to Nepal. He went back to Dahakani, the village where he was born. He married, had children, worked a small farm. He lived quietly for 60 years, never seeking attention, never talking about what he did. In 1995, the Armourers and Braziers Company of London donated $2,000 to build Gurung a new house. In 1995, British Prime Minister John Major presented Gurung with a check for $1,500 for the Gurkha Welfare Trust. But Gurung still lived in poverty, because the British government refused to grant pensions to Gurkhas who retired before 1997. Gurung had retired in 1947, so he got nothing. In 2008, at age 90, Gurung joined a legal campaign led by actress Joanna Lumley to secure rights for Gurkha veterans. The campaign argued, "These men fought for Britain. They bled for Britain. They deserve to live in Britain." The British government fought the case. They lost. In 2008, the High Court ruled that Gurkha veterans who retired before 1997 had the right to settle in the UK. Gurung moved to Hounslow, London, where his granddaughter Amrita cared for him. On November 19, 2010, Gurung was admitted to Charing Cross Hospital with pneumonia. He died on December 12, 2010. He was 92 years old. His funeral was attended by his family, British military officials, hundreds of Gurkha veterans, and the mayor of Hounslow. At the funeral, a British general said, "Lachhiman Gurung represents everything we admire about the Gurkhas: courage, determination, loyalty. He fought when most men would have quit. He survived when most men would have died. And he lived with humility despite achieving greatness." Gurung's Victoria Cross is now held by the 4th Battalion, 8th Gurkha Rifles in India. His story is taught in British military schools. His name is remembered wherever Gurkhas serve. In Nepal, Gurung is a national hero. Schools teach children about the little soldier who would not quit. In Britain, Gurung's story is finally being told. A story of a 4'11" man who stood against 200 enemies, who lost his hand and kept fighting, who fought for 4 hours with one arm, who killed 31 enemies in darkness, who refused to retreat, who refused to surrender, who refused to die, because he was Gurkha, and Gurkhas do not quit. Better to die than be a coward.